session, we're going to do a community challenge brainstorm session. So this is going to depend a lot on the audience and the people in the room to participate. And again, we're going to do like open dialogue and just throw many ideas out there. And the goal of this session is to answer all of your questions and all of those big ideas that you come up with. Are they possible with the Viam platform? Can you achieve this with the challenge? How can we show you some resources to get those ideas done and enable you for the success, the best success for the challenge? So I guess we can open today with a pretty open-ended question. How do we define AI in the context of this challenge? And I'll give people in the audience a second to drop their answers in the chat. But I would love to hear your take on how you personally would define AI for this challenge.
Yeah, sure. So for me, what's really interesting about AI is 2 years ago, I would have said real AI doesn't really exist. But as we all know, so much has changed within the past really year and a half. And it's becoming more and more real and evolving every day. But I'm now actually like kind of classifying more things into that category of AI than maybe I used to. And what I mean by that is, what's getting all the headlines these days are the large language models like ChatGPT. But what I think is powerful is that large language models can be used with many other tools that are really kind of based on the same concepts like neural networks. And so machine learning, I would absolutely classify as AI as well.
Yeah, I guess my answer is a bit simpler. When I think of AI in the context of this challenge is, I think like, how do you give a machine or a device a brain? Like, how do you make it think and respond to the environments around you? Which is exactly what you said, but in like a very like simple term. So we are saying the same thing. It's like you think about how do you input information from your surroundings, how do you read, how do you act upon that information? So yeah, I think those are good definitions to get started with our brainstorming session. And we can keep this pretty informal. If this brainstorming activity isn't working with the group, we can always adjust. So please just let me know in the chat how we're feeling. So I love to do like sticky note whiteboarding when I'm coming up with ideas. And I've prepared this collaborative like digital sticky note exercise. So I'm really relying on people in the chat and in the room to participate in this. And what I can do is I can share my screen right now and let's see. So if you can see my screen right now, you can see a bunch of sticky notes. And we wanted to divide these up into categories. So we did kind of answer the first question, what is AI? And how do we define it for robotics and smart devices? I guess we don't have to go in and write what, oh boy, that was a big zoom in, and write what we just said. But building off of those concepts for, reading, receiving, acting on information, how can we pull from those concepts there and jot down ideas for the 4 pillars of our submission categories? So I guess I can start. If I'm thinking about a robot, I guess learning about the surroundings and I want to do a project for sustainability, let's say I would write, how do you type on this? Oh no. Oh no. Is it in share mode right now? Hold on. 1 second. Yeah, there we go.
There I go.
Okay, so I can just say, robot that can see garbage. Why not, right?
Yeah.
And we can format that, but we'll just do it like this. So if we have any other ideas, we can just like throw them in the chat right now, or we can write them on the board here. Any other ideas? Matt, do you have one?
Yes, but I was thinking, I don't know, for some reason I was thinking about home automation, but I don't want to jump over that.
No, this is open-ended. We just want to get like as many stickies on the board as possible. So what are we saying here?
Yeah, so I've been playing around with visual language models that can kind of look at a scene and tell you, a lot of information about the scene. So I was wondering, could you combine that with Slam so that, a Slam map is created
Uh-huh.
and then automatically pulled?
In a
Like,
home.
yeah, like in a home. Like maybe you could see that there's I don't know, a stove and a refrigerator and just automatically know it's the kitchen.
Oh, is this the kitchen? I like that idea.
Yeah. I assume you could do that in really any application.
Yeah. Do we have any in the chat?
We have two. One of them is a robot that can differentiate between objects on the street and sidewalk.
Oh,
Yeah. To avoid going into the street, maybe.
yeah.
And the other one is lawn yard care robot, ML for weed identification, etc.
Ooh, ML for weed and lawn care. And I love that idea too because I'm also gonna dump this bucket in personal assistant or even I feel like it fit and or home automation. So that's great too.
Oh, I've got one that has to do with, I think, sustainability. I'd put it in. Remember, well, this is still a thing, like what are they, lantern moths?
Oh, spotted lantern flies.
Yeah. I know there's other invasive species, like up near where I live, all the ash trees are dying due to, I think it's the longhorn beetle, or no, I forget what it is, emerald ash borer.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, like something that actually can detect invasive species.
Oh.
Very useful.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I actually saw this project where, well, I guess it wasn't a project. Somebody was just taking like a vacuum and just like straight up, just like vacuuming the bottoms of the trees for, I can imagine you can automate a robot to then detect it and then, get them all for sure.
Yeah. Can we use VM rover?
Sure.
Yeah, if you have a VM rover, you can absolutely use it.
Yeah.
I have a personal assistant idea. I would like a robot that recognizes my face and reminds me to take medicine. I live with my sister, so I would like to also train it on her face, and then she takes different medicines, so maybe she can get different recommendations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and that would be really cool too, because you could build like a nice dispenser, and I can imagine you can also do that for like treats on your desk or.
Yeah. There's a couple modules, I believe, on the registry that help with that. The ones I know of are using this library called DeepFace, and you can actually differentiate within people or like with different people's faces without training. You just need to provide one or more photographs of that person, and it automatically just works.
The verification module?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And we will show some of these resources later in the session too, so don't worry, we will show you some cool stuff that is possible. Do we have anything for our anything else bucket, our wildcard bucket?
I have an anything else bucket. I also would like to get song recommendations.
Ooh.
With face identification. So our entire team has different types of music tastes. I'm more of a techno house type of girly. Matt, I think you listen more like
jam bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we can have a robot that gives us ideas for music.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another thing that is important in the challenge, modularity and being able to stitch together different open source platforms or projects, repositories, anything. For example, if you look up the Spotify API, I'm sure you can stitch it together in the VM platform, make a robot, or even just run this on your laptop to do facial detection and then pump out some song requests, because you don't have to write your own algorithm for that. There are other platforms that have done that already.
Yeah, stitching things together is really key in a lot of technology. Arielle, I heard that you wanted to play with AI for generating music. Is this true?
Oh, you're being inflammatory. No, I don't, but this is a great segue for you to talk about it.
Yeah, I was taking a look around and I was looking at Hugging Face. If you're not familiar with that website, there's a lot of different types of AI and machine learning models there. And there's one, I think it came out of Facebook, called Music Gen, where you can actually describe what type of music you want it to generate, and it will generate it based on lots of other music that are essentially like part of that model.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting. Works better than I thought it would, and to be honest, that does scare me a little bit.
Yeah.
I was giving you a hard time, but it's a very human thing, creating music.
It's true. I guess if you want to think about robotic or smart machine output, like, or input maybe, what would be an input that could help like create that interesting like generative music?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I believe you can do with those libraries is let's pretend you had an idea of like a melody. You can actually hum that out loud, feed it to the model as like a basis for a song, and it will create like variations of what could be like the composed music. So maybe using it as like an idea starter for like if you are a musician, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I do like that. Oh, I just thought of an idea for AI personal assistant. I don't know how possible this is, but maybe, actually, no, you can do it. So I have an east-facing window, and the sun like always rises at, a fairly consistent time based on the season, but I feel like depending on the angle that my mirror is turned, the sun will hit me at different times and it'll wake me up at different times. What if I could train a model based on like the way my room is changing colors, and then I don't know, I could use it to like output like some custom alarm, and it could say like, oh, maybe she should sleep a little longer because the sun, because I started sleeping with a mask on, and now I'm losing my natural wake up time entirely. So maybe I could use machine learning for like waking up.
I thought you were going to have it like tilt the mirror in a different direction.
I could I could put like a gantry or something and just like close the closet or something.
Yeah. But actually, I don't know there's probably a lot of ideas here, but could you use machine learning or AI to track your sleep habits and improve them?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a better idea.
That could be a good personal assistant.
Yeah.
I would like to use large language models to do a translator bot, because my mom lives in Turkey and she doesn't speak English, and it would be nice if I can just like talk to the machine and it would use the large language model and potentially like a translation API to speak back to my mom.
Yeah. I think a lot of that might come down to testing in terms of how well it works. I know you probably get more natural language as compared to like Google Translate, where it's just like straight word by word. You might have to look out for like the AI hallucinations, like just making things up. But I know like models are improving in that aspect every day.
Why do hallucinations happen?
I have like very limited understanding there. What I think, and maybe anybody in the audience can chime in if you know more than I believe it's because, the way these models work is they basically have lots of different connections that they actually call neurons to lots of informations and data points. But sometimes when they are connecting that information together, there's a misfire. Just like humans, right? Like we might misremember, or maybe we don't always have accurate information. So sometimes we might be talking to our friends or people we know, and we might say something that's incorrect, and same with this. So
interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But again, if somebody in the audience actually knows how it works, let me know.
Yeah. And this is a great time to plug a future event that we are going to host. We have not scheduled it formally yet, but anticipate within the first week of April 4th, we are going to have a data and machine learning specialist from our team, Tahia, do an Ask Me Anything to talk in depth and answer every single question that we'd have about machine learning, and also some cool hot takes on big data. So stay tuned for that.
We got some comments in chat about the translator robot. That would be cool. Check out Cohere's IAM model. There was a bit of crowdsourcing around multilingual chat.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Only I should build that.
Yeah. Or hopefully we could see an entry like that for the challenge.
Yeah, that brings up another topic, and I think maybe we'll dig into it more later. But just to mention that, there are different ways to integrate these technologies into your project. But one thing that I've been doing recently, anybody who's been looking at the VM registry have probably seen, I'm finding interesting models, and sometimes automatically they just integrate with the tooling we have. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll actually use code libraries and create a wrapper around them so that therefore they work with the VM platform. And so if anybody's interested in doing that as part of the challenge, we have some examples in our documentation. But then definitely reach out on Discord if you get stuck. But yeah. I always think it's really fun to actually contribute to the community where other people can then use a model that I used for one of my projects.
Yeah, that would be cool. So if we don't have any final thoughts for this brainstorming session, we could close this. One last one.
That makes things. Another idea around Matt's dog in the yard project. Notify when a pet is at the door to be let out and in, and when the cat litter needs emptying.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Notifications for pet needs.
Let
the dog out. Cat litter. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I think I definitely need something like that. My dog is very lazy and he doesn't like to walk. And he's not the kind of dog that will let you know that he needs to go out. Yeah. But then all of a sudden he'll be right by the door and then maybe have an accident. So if there was just a little bit more window or some automation that I know when he decides, that's an excellent idea.
I think we all need that. I have kids who
let the kids into the bathroom.
No, it's more if you have kids, you might notice you have to remind them over and over and over again to do things, and so they have chores, and one is taking out the trash or the recycling, and it's pretty easy to know that needs to be done because the recycling is basically overflowing or the trash is very full. So that same idea could be applied there too, just instead of the parent having to look and say, instead just automatically send a text to their phone.
Yeah,
or something.
Who needs to parent their children when we could make robots to do it?
Yes, we can use OpenAI's clip to find poop. And Dan is saying, we had an incident with the robo-bag and the dog today, so I know how you feel.
That's funny. Speaking of your trash idea, I actually just got an idea too. You could actually build, why is it not letting me grab a sticky? You can actually build, all right. You can actually build a custom trash can and I saw a similar project like this. That modern trash cans, they often have a recycling bin and a regular garbage bin built into it, but New York City actually has very specific laws on recycling, and you'd be surprised how much plastic that you think you can recycle is non-recyclable. Say with cardboard, for example, you can't recycle certain colored papers, right? What if you had a camera on your trash can and train a very specific model so that, if you're not thinking about it and you're tossing stuff, you can correct then? Because I read this wild statistic. It's almost 60% of our recycled trash actually doesn't get recycled, and it's because people recycle incorrectly. So
yeah,
that's a big problem you could solve.
Yeah, or solve it for the world by creating a really good ML-based sorter that you can sell to New York City.
Yeah. Honestly, and I think that's another really cool thing about this challenge and just VM in general. You can come up with these really cool ideas that can turn into business ideas. You can build startups, off of these concepts and off of this back-end framework that we provide. Shameless plug, start your business and use us. But it's true, if you can solve some real problems and you can use our platform for it, why not?
Yeah.
So if we don't have any other ideas, we can definitely move on to more product related things, and we can talk a little more ask us anything. Anything else?
Professor D is saying, I am the one that stands at the airport trash can for 10 minutes trying to figure out which to use.
Yeah, no, that's definitely so real.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, one time it was a school event, and it was a big outdoor event. And my job was actually to make sure that people were putting things in trash or recycling. And I thought this is going to be the easiest job ever, but I was busy all day.
Yeah, it's very true. I will make sure to save a good snapshot of this brainstorming session and share it with the group. I will post it in the challenge chat. But the next portion of our live stream, I want to talk about what is possible and maybe how we can stretch that further with our platform. So I want to talk about just like low code and no code AI implementations that you can get started with really quickly when you're prototyping or brainstorming. And if you are new here, we have a lot of really cool built-in features in our platform. And if you're a regular here, you already know that we have excellent machine learning and computer vision services built into our platform. And what that means is you can train your own models, you can upload models that exist already, you can retrain existing models as well, and deploy them onto your robot or machine very quickly. And you can take that further and create a computer vision service where you can do detections live or classifications live from your robot. And I mean, I did this earlier. I configured something from the registry less than 2 minutes, and I was able to start doing detections very quickly. So if you feel that this challenge is a bit daunting, like, do I have to write a lot of code to make a good project, or do I have to do some crazy integration of open AI? You don't have to. There's so many different ways you can approach this challenge. Or you can go, hard mode, and you can go open source magic, and I'll let you speak a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, really what Arielle is saying is true. Like getting started, like one of our goals here at Viam is to make it easier to get started. And, we're rolling out features really every week that make that more true. As Arielle mentioned, there is now a capability to find machine learning models directly on the registry. By the way, if during this project there are models that you all find out there in the world and you want to add them to the registry, please go for it, make them available. Low touch for everybody. But beyond that, as I mentioned before, if you find something there in the world that isn't currently integrated with VM, provide that to the world. Like I said, I was playing with this visual language model that actually can look at a scene and tell you in great detail what's going on there. And then just by happenstance, somebody in the community in our Discord Monday morning was asking, do we have any integrations? And I thought, no, we don't. But I know how to integrate it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I do it? Put it out there for the community. And so again, like any of you who are more experienced coders, definitely like we love those kinds of contributions.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice for sourcing, I guess, like a good integration or
Google.
Okay, my advice. No, go ahead.
No, but really, I can give you like all other specific places to look. For example, I mean, Hugging Face, I mentioned that site before, but there's tons of great resources there. They make it pretty easy to integrate with their things. There are also modules on the VM registry that make it possible for you to directly integrate with Hugging Face models. RoboFlow is also really interesting for computer vision specifically, and you can integrate those models very easily with VM as well. But then sometimes I find things in kind of random places. Like I was looking for something to detect different types of wildlife and something that could work both day and night with like night vision cameras. And I just found a GitHub repository. And in that case, I think I did just find it through Google.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot. And shameless plug, you can also look at our tutorials. Matt mentioned our modular registry. Definitely check there first, so you're not duplicating work, or perhaps you just want to build upon something that somebody already made. Completely possible. You can also check our docs, and you can see existing projects and existing repositories that you can also expand upon, reiterate, remix. Totally valid and encouraged for this challenge for sure.
Yeah. Also check the VM blog, which is on vm.com, not the VM doc site. There's some interesting projects there as well. For example, one of our teammates here recently realized through monitoring through VM hardware that different areas of our office were actually like drastically different in terms of temperature, which we believed as soon as we heard it, because people are always complaining it's too hot, it's too cold, maybe too hot and too cold at the same time in different parts of the office. But then folks here were actually able to automate so that the temperature was much more even and actually like more eco-friendly as well, because we were actually overheating parts of the office and opening the windows and all that craziness.
Yeah, I just dropped the blog in the comments if you're interested on reading more about that.
Yeah.
Do we have any final parting words or anything, or until we move on to the next, any more advice or capabilities of the VM platform?
I guess, we've talked about integrating and how that's, really potentially very important for your project. And we've been focusing mostly on AI and ML integrations, but all sorts of integrations are, free game here. And I, again, encourage Hazal did a project at one point where she integrated with some service that sends emails through Gmail or sends text messages. And so, there are so many libraries out there that do so many things in so many different programming languages, and I encourage all of you to use those, of course, as well in your projects. Not just AI and ML, like all of these can add to a complete picture.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So I guess the conclusion for this is all of these really cool ideas that we came up with during our brainstorming session. You can pull any concept that Matt or I just spoke about, whether that's like leveraging our app with the low code, no code solutions or integrations. And I would say you can apply that to any concept that we came up with today. And I hope that is proof that if you come up with some cool ideas later at home, they're completely doable. And as a reminder, we're here for you to help you along the way. If you get stuck, if you need advice, if you need a sanity check, we are here for you. And in the last few minutes of this session, again, I want to thank everyone for coming at 3 p.m. on a Thursday. If you have any more questions, technical questions, broad questions, brainstorming questions, now is your chance to ask them. This is my favorite part, like when we wait for people to say things.
I have some questions. Do I have to train my own ML model, or can I just use an ML model that's already trained?
That's a great question. You don't have to train your own model, but if you do, you can collect image data from your robot and train it as specific or as you want. But you can leverage existing models and upload them, whether it's to the registry or upload them locally. You can do that for your project.
Yeah, that brings something else to mind, in that you may find data sets out there, meaning lots of pictures and photographs in a given category where maybe there's not a model, maybe there's not a pre-trained model. Mm-hmm. And so I encourage you, and if you need help with this, we're available, of course, on Discord, to get that data into the VM platform where you can train from there. And that way you can actually select, let's pretend it's a data set of animals, but you only want to train on, giraffes and rhinos. You could, select the data that you want out of there and, again, do this custom training for a custom model that fits your needs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well said.
I also have another question. I was wondering, does this have to be a physical machine? Like, do I have to build an entire robot? Or can it be just a model that could be used by a machine?
Oh,
great question.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'll give my take first. There's no right or wrong way to approach this. You don't have to build a whole hardware configuration or 3D model a robot. You are welcome to if you want to. But what we're looking for is just like interesting integrations or interesting approaches to AI. That also means that you can just run VM server on your computer and do stuff with your camera. You don't have to build a physical prototype, but you can if you want to.
Yeah, I kind of like using the word capabilities. I think being that VM is a software platform, a big thing that we're offering is capabilities that can be applied to really any sort of, whether it's a mobile robot or an IoT device. The hope is that a lot of these capabilities can be used really like across lots of different use cases. And so from that perspective, yeah, absolutely. If you want to create a full hardware project, go for it. But if you just want to use AI in an interesting way, or maybe like, apply some algorithm on top of it that nobody else has really thought about. That's awesome. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Or if you want to take a robot and collect, thousands of images around New York City or whatever city you're in, and tag a model and just make a really specific model that you can't find online, completely valid, because then you are enabling other people to leverage that on any other machines they want to create in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So can I create a script that makes my MacBook camera do something based on insights from an ML model?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We have a good question. On a fundamental level, what would be the lowest level of AI integration on a project?
I think really Hazal's example was probably one of the more simple ideas, right? Basically, yeah, get detections or classifications from an existing model and do something with it. Like I said before, like send an email, send an SMS, solve a real world problem, but with just a single action. That's a pretty straightforward, simple one.
Mm-hmm.
What other ideas?
Yeah, we also have a tutorial online for a verification system where it's essentially like a Blink tutorial that leverages a machine learning model, and you're just training data on like a person's face, Matt or Arielle, and then it just triggers like a light to go on or off to show like security. So you can leverage an existing model and then do like a really simple hardware output as well.
Yeah, I recently in one project integrated with IFTTT, and if you're not familiar, that's essentially like a framework that allows you to integrate with lots of different APIs and services in the world. And it's pretty easy to use. Like if you've ever used an API before, it's fairly straightforward. And there's other services like that. So, even if a lot of like the automation is happening outside of VM, but it's, being powered by VM, totally cool.
Yeah, definitely agree. I see our friend Dan is typing. At the end of this, I'm also happy to show a little demo. I prepared a quick example on the VM app on how like fast you can deploy a model from the registry and get detections really quickly. I set that up ahead of time, and I have some really fun objects in front of me, and we can look at really simple like integrations of AI. It took less than 2 minutes to set it up, and I can use the detections to tell me what it is, and you can write a fun story based on that. Like that's also an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
I have a question that's not like ideation related, but it's more challenge related. If I need help after this session for more brainstorming, or if I need feedback on my ideas, or I need help with implementation, can I reach out to you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the challenge chat is for that. Also, the Ask Us forum, there is a challenge tag. Anyone on our team will see it, and we will get back to you and help you, troubleshoot or debug or,
Cool. If I have an idea and I share this on Discord, and there are people in the community who would like to partner with me, can I join this challenge as a team?
You can do teams. Just know that you'd have to split the prize money, but there's power in numbers, and honestly, it's a fun challenge to pair up with people, get to meet new people as well.
Yeah.
And with more brain power comes more robust projects too. So why not? Yeah, I would treat this as a hackathon. You could do it yourself. You can do it with